show where I try to educate real stories.
Thank you for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King. Tonight we're going to discuss juvenile justice. And we have someone that was a juvenile not too long ago, and her name is Jade Miller. Jade is going to talk to us about the organization she works with, Collective Action for Youth. And then I have my standby, always reliable co-host, Mr. Danny Sneed. All right, Danny. And Danny's going to have a message for you at the end. So, Jade, tell us about, we want to know about your job, but we want to know about you too. So tell us about you and your brush with, your background and your brush with the juvenile justice system.
Okay, so I grew up in San Antonio. I graduated and left as soon as 18 hit. I was out of there on the first thing smoking. My parents were divorced twice. So I went through all that trauma twice, but I would just stayed unmarried.
Married to each other twice?
Yes.
Okay.
They got divorced when I was 6 or 7, and then got remarried when I was 9. And then they divorced again when I was 12.
Now, are you an only child?
No, I have an older sister and then two younger brothers.
Okay.
Yeah.
All with the same parents?
My sister has a different dad, and then my half brother has a different mom.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So that all
Blended, all blended
yeah,
family.
there's a lot going on over there. But I am a pastor's kid. My mom was a pastor, my dad was, my grandfather was, my grandmother was an evangelist, and our great grandma was. So grew up in the church. Just a lot of things, a lot of restrictions, right? And then after my parents got divorced, I kind of like started, transitioning to like trying to find who I am, trying to cope with all like the pain. I did a lot of like debate and like writing competitions when I was younger. And then after the divorce, I like stopped doing that. I still try to play sports. We moved around a lot. I think I went to like 4 different elementary schools.
That's a lot.
I went to 3 different middle schools, and then I went to 2 different high schools.
All in the same city?
Yes. Yeah. So my mom, she was really just trying to do the best that she could.
Of course.
And I believe that, like, as I got older, my sister got older. My sister moved out when she was about 16 or 17. And then it was just me and my mom, because my brother had like behavioral issues, so my dad had took him. So just me and her. And I think she just kind of like never had like felt like she had to worry about me, because I was like the good kid. I made really good grades. I was always like doing some competitions or something. So she kind of just like, we just separated. I guess I feel like we were roommates. I didn't really see her a lot. She didn't really see me a lot. This when I was only 16. So at age 16, I was just hanging out with, my friends, just doing like girl things. And of course my mom was working like 2 jobs. We didn't have like a lot of money. So I remember the first time that I ever got in trouble, ever in my life. We had a date, me and my friend, we had a date. And so we were like, I was like, I don't have anything to wear. And I really, really liked the guy. And she was like, well, we can just go to the mall. We could just swipe something. And I was like, okay, cool. We have to be like in and out. Well, we didn't end up getting to go to the date because we got caught basically stealing.
So stealing at a store,
Mm-hmm.
trying to get an outfit.
Trying to get an outfit. So at this time I was 16. The store owners decided that they wanted to involve the police. So the police came. My parents also came on site. So they had came to the store we got caught. And then the store owner was like, yes, I want them to go to juvie. So they took us that night. And I wasn't in there for a long time. I was in there maybe for like 12 hours before my parents come pick me up. And then I kind of like, after that, it was dead. And then I had
What was
gotten
dead? What do you mean?
like I never did anything like after that. Like for a while I was like good.
Was
like
that scary enough? I mean,
it
12
was
hours.
yeah.
That's a long time, 12 hours.
12
It
hours
was
can be a long
scary,
time.
but I think it's different like going by yourself. Like I went with my friend.
Oh, y'all was
Okay.
in the both same cell?
Yeah, so it was like of course we were sad. I think I was more afraid of my parents than I was like being in juvenile because it's just like, you know, this is bad. I mean, of course when we were there, the cop was like, "You're never gonna be able to get a good job," and like all those things, and I was like, okay, but I was just like, dang, I just wanted some new clothes for a date. Like I didn't know it was that big of a deal, so it was scary, but it wasn't something I was just
But
like,
raised religiously, you knew it was wrong.
yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. I was more scared of my parents than I was scared of like
Right.
the actual system.
Right.
Because I was just like, well, if I do something
And
wrong.
they got it back. They got the merchandise back.
Yes. We definitely didn't get to walk out the store with it. And then my junior year, I had entered into a relationship with a young man. He went to a different high school, and I was with him. He was raised on the east side of San Antonio, which is pretty bad.
That's where I was raised, on the east side.
Yeah, it's not.
I was raised on the east side of San Antonio. It was bad then, and
Yeah,
it's bad now.
it's notorious for the drug dealers and the killers
it
and
was
like all
bad.
those things.
Yeah,
He was a foster kid. He lived in a house of about 8 boys. Come to find out later down the line, my sister was dating his older brother when I was in the 6th grade. But I didn't find out till later. So we started dating, and of course, when you're with somebody, whoever they hang out with, that's who you end up hanging out with. And I just started hanging out with the girls that were like always in fights, that were like, it was always something. The girls that we like, my mom told me she never wanted me like to be around. I remember like I had this phase where I wanted like gold rings and like the ham bones and like all the gold jewelry because I saw the other girls like have it. And then it made it seem like they had like, they had money, right? That's what it seemed. Lo and behold, it was never that. Their parents were, of course, like working, but we got welfare, but we like got food stamps. Like we never had like Section 8 or anything like that. So my mom was like literally paying all the bills by herself. And when I was around like these different girls and like I was like, okay, well, if I start hanging out with them, I can fit in. I'll be able to get the things they get. Not knowing how they were getting the things they got. Not knowing like what was going on the weekends where they stayed at because I wasn't raised on that side. I was raised on the northeast side. So I just got exposed to all of that. And when I was 17, I just turned 17, I had gotten into an altercation with a girl because she said that I had stole her phone, which I didn't. There was like a whole investigation. So of course, like I'm upset and I'm in this like atmosphere already where girls are, if somebody like lies on you or does something to you, like you fight them. So I was just like, I felt like I had to do that. So we just didn't get along the rest of the whole year. And then it all came to a head. And she basically, like, we went to her house and me and her fought in the middle of the street. And then her mom ended up calling the police. Her mom watched the whole fight, everything.
World star.
You know, I beat her up pretty bad. And so the police came. And then that's the first time I went to adult jail.
Oh, you went to jail because you won.
Basically.
So what happened? But she might have thrown the first lick. Did you throw the first
Well,
lick?
she at her house.
She's at the other girl's house.
I'm saying, you know, went to them people's house.
We did. I
Beat
mean,
up.
we did go to that. So I went to jail that day, and then my boyfriend at the time, his dad had bailed me out that time, and
So
then
your boyfriend was the foster kid?
yeah,
And his,
at the time,
And his real dad or his foster dad?
his foster dad bailed me out. So then I got into, no, I actually didn't get into a fight. I was hanging around girls, of course, that we were all mutual friends with. And she didn't have her phone, but she was having an altercation with the girl. So she had used my phone to text a girl off my phone. So I was like, okay, cool. Well, I guess her and the girl ended up fighting. Again, the police came. The mom was like, she like showed the police the text messages and they asked, whose number is this? And of course, I'm like, it's mine. And they were like, were you sending, basically like saying I was trying to fight her. And I was like, I was just the ride. Like I was just here. But because the text messages came from my phone, I had to go for a terroristic threat. So the day that I had went, I was sitting there for like 2 weeks because I was already on like bond for the charge before. So I was sitting in there, and then I remember just like, okay, just like get me out. I'll never get into a fight again. I'll never do anything like bad again. And then once again, my boyfriend at the time, his dad bailed me out again. But I had went to court. He placed the bail after I went to court. And basically my attorney was like, if you plead guilty today, you can go home today. And I'm 17. I'm just like, I just want to go home. Like, I just want to get out of here. So I was like, okay, knowing that I probably could have fought that case. Like, letting them know it wasn't me that, you know, sent the messages. Yeah.
Should have. You could have and you should have.
Yeah, but, you know.
You stayed a little bit more than 12 hours this time.
Yeah, I did.
2 weeks. She said 2 weeks. She said 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks. You're ready to get out of there.
Yeah.
And a lot of lawyers do that. It's a horrible system. It's a system we're trying to change, but it is a system where people plead guilty to get out of jail.
Yeah.
And that's not good.
And I didn't really understand.
And it followed you for the rest of your life, and you're 17.
Yes.
But that's
And
why
I'm
they
just-
changed the no bail laws that people push back against, right?
Well, it's
Reform the bail system.
Well, part of the reform was to get PR bonds on those type of offenses.
Right.
So at least because she was held in jail because she didn't have the money, and so it's about not being, not discriminated against the poor, because if she was from a family with wealth, she would have just gotten out on bond.
Or not have gone to jail at all.
Right. Well,
being honest.
let's play like you would have gone.
Yeah.
You would have had the money too. So on the bail question, a lot of times people stayed in jail and pled guilty to get out just because they couldn't afford a lawyer, couldn't afford to bail out and get a lawyer, so they would just plead guilty. And the lawyers would give them misinformation a lot of times.
Yeah.
Just plead guilty and not telling you that. And I used to try to tell people, don't plead guilty, fight this, always fight your first case,
Right.
And then, but most people say, I just want to get out, I just want to get out.
That's literally all I
and
wanted
that's,
to
and
do.
that's what
You
people
could be
want to
sitting
do.
in jail a year on
Right.
a case.
When you can't afford a bond. And so when you can't afford a bond, you can be sitting in jail a year, and that's where the unfairness of the system was there. But I think strides have been made to correct that now, but it didn't help Jade
Back then.
12 years ago.
No, it didn't. And then, after that, I was able to get on probation. I wanted to go to school. I knew I wanted to go to school. I was a high school athlete. I ran track. I was really good at it. Lettered my freshman year. Ran for about 2 years after. I stopped running my junior year. And then I got more into summer track. So I would just run during the summer. And then I was my high school mascot, which was a joke. But it turned.
What was the mascot?
I was Rocket Girl.
Okay.
that's cute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rocket
So
Girl.
I was the mascot during football season. I believe we had tryouts again. I didn't dance in any basketball games, but I definitely was at football games. Yeah. So I was voted my class clown for my senior year. Like I was very involved, like in school.
And that's Judson High School, right, San Antonio.
Yeah.
Well, let me talk to me about the domestic violence relationship you were in as a high schooler. Is it with this foster kid? Mm-hmm. Tell me about that.
So the first year we were together, there were no signs. But of course, I'm 17. I don't know. I've never seen it. I've never been around it. My dad never put his hands on my mom. Vice versa. None of my godparents, anybody I was raised around, never happened. So when it happened to me, I honestly didn't know how to take it. I watched Lifetime all the time, and you're always like, oh, if that was me, I would do this and this. And I remember the first time he did it, I responded.
What did he do?
He basically, so this was when MySpace was in. I had my phone in my hand, and he wanted to see my phone. And I was like, I'm on my phone right now. I don't know what was wrong with him that day. I was sitting on his mom's couch, and he got up, and he was just like, if you don't give me your phone right now, I'm going to slap you. And I was like, no, you're not. He's never talked like this to me. So he gets up, and he pulls his right hand back.
Whoa.
But he slaps me with his left hand. And it's so loud. And I just hold my face, right, in shock. The only person that ever hit me on my face is my mom. And I deserve that probably. But his mom, it was so loud, his mom came out the bedroom and was like, what was that? And so I can't even, happened so long, I just remember my face was stinging. I got up out the seat I was about to go grab a knife or something, but I never made it to the kitchen. And then he grabbed my phone, he took it. And at this point, my mom had moved to Houston. So my mom left when I was 17 to move to Houston.
Where were you?
In San Antonio.
With whom?
Whoever.
Well, who did she think you were with?
She thought she agreed to have me live with one of my friends from high school. And then her mom was like, yeah, she can come and stay. And then after prom, I believe, I just was wherever I could stay.
What does that mean?
Like, I was with my boyfriend. I was staying at, like, my close friend's house.
Who was paying your cell phone bill?
I was working at Sonic. Okay. Yeah, so I was working at Sonic at that time. But, of course, it was, like, on and off. I really didn't keep it on.
Was it a chaotic life, going from place to place?
When you're 17, I just was living life. I thought it was fun because there was always things happening, right?
And she didn't have any parental
I didn't have
supervision?
any parental supervision. Like, I didn't have to
I
go to
can't believe
church.
your mother left you.
Yeah, for a long time.
I'm not criticizing them. People do what they have to do, so I don't mean it
Yeah.
as a criticism, but
It was, but
I'm
me and my
surprised
mom
she didn't
didn't
make
get
you-
along
I'm
for a
surprised she
while.
didn't make
Like,
you-
I had left my mom's house at 16. We would just always get into it. I think she was just she was trying to find what she needed. And so when that happens, you know, mothers they don't make the best decisions. And so I definitely had my issues with her for a long time, but a lot of therapy, like, made me realize, like, she probably wasn't okay, and nobody was really checking on her. She was
Right.
literally doing it all by herself. So now that I'm older, I definitely give her a lot more grace, but I also could have been a better daughter. Like, I could have been more understanding and, like, not giving her more to worry about than what she was already probably worried about.
right. And that's coming from a very therapeutic point of view.
No, I'm so
I
serious.
appreciate
Yeah,
therapy
That
because
that personal accountability is something.
that personal accountability is something that we don't see often.
No, it took a
Especially
lot
in
of
criminal
healing.
justice,
It took
so-
a lot of
Right.
healing.
Yeah, 'cause-
But there were a lot of things that I went through in my childhood that, like, I believe that was on set because of the decisions that she made.
Right.
That could have been better decisions, but we know parenting doesn't come with a handbook. I have 2 sons myself, and it's difficult.
How old are they?
They are 9. My youngest just turned 9 yesterday, and my oldest is 10.
Okay.
So-
really right behind each other.
They're 18 months apart. I got pregnant with my second one on my first one's birthday. So, yes. I don't know how their dad did it, but he did it twice. He doesn't miss.
I know. I think I have an idea.
He did not miss. He did not miss.
Are y'all still together?
No, we are not. I left him when my youngest son was 1. So we've been broken up for about 8 years.
Okay. So most of their life.
Yeah.
Well, so let's go back to this abusive boyfriend. So one slap, you're in shock. How did you make it through that day?
So he took my phone hostage. He was like, get in the car. Got in the car. We had to take his mom to a doctor's appointment. So he took his mom to a doctor's appointment, and I'm like, can you just give me my phone? Can you just give me my phone? And he was just being, like, super, super mean, right? I didn't even, like, recognize who he was that day. And so we drop his mom back off, and then he has to go take his sister to work. So I'm just sitting in the back seat the whole time while he has my phone. And so we go get his sister, and we
So, like, what did you have on this phone? Like, you texting another guy, or you sending nasty
I think at that
pictures?
point,
I mean, what are you doing?
I think I was, like, talking to somebody else.
Okay.
I ended up, like, meeting a guy and was just, like, trying to get out of that relationship. And I guess he heard about it. But that's not why he wanted my, I guess, to get in my MySpace. Maybe he did find out and I didn't know he knew. But either way, he wanted my phone. And he just wouldn't give it back to me. So he's, like, driving around. I'm, like, I start just crying hysterical because at this point, like, I'm coming to realize, oh, my God, like, this is really happening right now. So he pulls over, and I remember, to the parking lot of McDonald's in the back, and he runs to the back of the car, and he just starts punching me.
What?
Yes.
Why you out of the car?
No, I'm in the car. I'm in the back seat. I was trying to run to the other side. He drove a Lincoln, like an old Lincoln, like 1986. So it was super big, boxy, and the back was huge. So, like, I tried to run to the back, and he, like, grabbed me, yanked me.
He started punching you with his
Yeah,
fist?
yeah. And then he threw my phone and broke it. And then, like, throws
And
me
that's
back
your
in the car.
lifeline to your mother, to
That's
your father,
exactly
to
what
your
I was
family?
crying about. I was just like, how am I going to, like, get in contact with my people? Like, if something happens to me today, nobody's going to know.
Right.
So he proceeds to take me back to his house. And I sit in the car for a little bit. And then I go inside. I sit down. He goes upstairs. He's upstairs for like 30 minutes.
Are you staying with him at this time?
I think I was, probably. Because we were together all the time. This was in the summer. So we were just always together. And he comes back down with a piece of paper, and it's a letter. And he's like, "Can I read this to you?" And I was like, "Okay." So, like, he starts crying. He's like, "I'm so sorry. I've never done that before. I don't know what got into me. Like, I just love you so much." And, like,
This was in the letter, or is this what he's saying?
this is what he's saying. So I'm just like,
But what's in the letter?
I can't even remember.
Did he write the letter?
He wrote the letter.
He was going through.
He was going through.
He
it,
was
wasn't
going through.
Well, I'm just
I mean,
saying.
did he beat you up the way there was blood on you and stuff?
Yeah, I did have, he busted my lip.
I'm sympathetic to what you were going through, but he was,
He-
again,
he done whooped his girlfriend's butt.
behavior.
Oh, my God.
His behavior is not saying that someone is mentally well.
And you know that you say that, and even when I repeated that back to you, he's still not to this day.
I'm just saying, but you know he's not well, and you know he's been in an abusive situation to first react by beating you up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not making him the victim, but it's just through my own journey and just being around, understanding like you did your mother. Sometimes I have to look through a different lens. The first lens I want to look through is, oh, he wrong. We need to tar and feather him.
Mm-hmm.
But then now I have more of a different view of life, that this is a symptom of something else going on.
Yeah.
His behavior is one thing, but something has to be underlying. And I'm not a clinician, but you don't have to be.
But he's in foster care, so obviously he had to be taken out of a situation.
He was in foster care for a while. His mom was addicted to crack, so he was born with crack in his system. He had a lot of issues, but I didn't realize those issues until I had to realize them, until I had to get away. I knew that something was wrong.
So he beat you up. So what happened? I mean, did the foster mom come home? Did he get punished for it?
Nobody ever knew, except his brother. His brother saw me and was just like, "Damn." And then
So you stayed with him after that?
I did.
And what was your mentality?
I thought he loved me.
Okay.
I really did.
It was the love you were coming after.
Yeah.
So you didn't think, I better get my butt back home. I better follow my mother to Houston. And I'd have to get punched.
That
He was
never
punching
even,
on you.
That never even crossed my mind to like even leave.
So what were you gonna do if he punched you again?
He did. And I stayed.
Jade, what were you thinking about? I mean, were you scared?
At that time, he was just really all I had. I feel like he did a lot. He made me feel like I had a lot from him. He had the classical signs of like, you know, nobody's showing up for you but me. Nobody cares about you but me. I'm doing all this stuff for you.
Now, would the foster mother let you stay there?
No, the foster dad, he did. Yes.
He let you stay there?
Yes.
Could you stay in the same room with him?
Yeah.
Wow. Like little grown-ups?
Like little grown-ups.
Wow.
We went away to school together.
He went to Sam Houston too?
No, we went to Navarro first. So I got accepted into PV. I didn't end up going to PV. He was like, you know, we can go away to college. It'll just be me and you. We won't have any outsiders, anything. And I was like, yeah, that sounds good. He's just like, let's get married. And I never had any of that. I never had anybody that I feel like was just so serious at that point in time.
Nobody's gonna ever fault you for being in love in a young age.
That's what I said. I was just
And
young
needing
and in
love. And you know, since you had you and your mother had a complicated relationship. So I mean, nobody's gonna fault you for being in love, but it is a tough situation for a child to get beat up by somebody that loves them and that you love. You don't know what to do. Could you talk to the foster mom?
I mean, not the mom. She wasn't really like in her right mind. She had a lot of issues too. And what's crazy is the dad would encourage me to stay with him as well. He was just like,
But he knew he was beating your ass?
He knew, yeah.
I mean, he was beating you up?
Yeah.
Damn. And he couldn't stop him?
I think he would have conversations with him, but he was dealing with his own, it was just a lot of issues. Looking back, there was a lot of things going on, and the blinders were on. The blinders were definitely on. Just being young and just.
So what did he beat you about next?
Most of the time it was because he thought I was talking to other guys.
So instead of him just trying to be nicer to you or make you happy, he beat you up and thinks that would make you stay?
Insecurity?
So how many times did he beat you up?
5 times.
Oh.
Yeah.
5 times too many.
Facts.
I mean, did you ever have more hurt than blood and busted lips? Did he break anything?
He actually held a gun to my head.
Oh my God.
And that was the time, that's when I left completely. I left and went back to San Antonio.
Were y'all were at Navarro then?
Yes, so it was a big thing. He found out that I was dating somebody else. I was like trying to transition out. And because everything I had came from him. And so I started dating another guy, and he had found out. And I remember I was in the shower. He yanked me out the shower, dragged me through the living room.
Did y'all live together?
Yeah.
How
Dragged me
you
through
gonna date somebody else while you living with him though, Jay?
You know,
Come on, man. We young. Look,
I was trying
them the mistakes
to
you
trying to
when
make
you're
it.
young.
That's it.
You were trying to get you another dude so you
yeah,
could get away. Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Like, and you know, the guy at that time, he was making it work for me. It was easier. It was just easy, and it was. I feel like was new love, right? A love that didn't hurt as much, and I didn't have to put up with so much. But he was super angry. He did. He had a sister on the phone. I remember he just like threw me against the wall, and he went to the car. He left for a long time, and I'm just like there, just in a towel. And he comes back, and he just holds the gun to my head. And while he has a gun to my head, his sister is on the phone with me. She's holding the phone up, and she's basically saying, like, if something happens to my brother, I'm gonna come kill you. And I'm like, if something happens to your brother,
He has a gun on me, ma'am.
exactly, exactly. So he pulled the trigger, and he either didn't have any bullets in there or it jammed, one or the other.
Damn. How did he find this out? Did he get your phone again?
No, he was talking to mutual friends. Friends that I thought were my friends that weren't really my friends.
One thing about this world is very few people you can trust.
Very few.
Well, and then the biggest mistakes, I don't even call them mistakes. When I was young, and I'm not making it about me, but I'm not making mistakes. I'm just living. I mean, the guardrails, you can tell me what's right and wrong, but when I'm in the moment, I'm living, I'm not gauging it on right or wrong. I'm just living in the moment. And it sounds like, to me, you was just in a moment of what was around you, your environment, the opportunities, the resources.
I would honestly say, like, growing up, I had a ball. Like, I did have a lot of fun. Like, it wasn't just super traumatic. I went through a lot of things, but I think that I started drinking at a young age, like, trying to, like, cover up the trauma. I started trying to deal with my trauma young.
How old?
My first drink I had was at 16.
So did alcohol play any part of what was going on?
No, he didn't drink at all.
I'm talking about with you.
As far as what?
Just having a part of the role in your behavior, how you saw life, depending on what you
No, I
consumed?
wasn't, like I said, I was not even thinking of it like that. I didn't realize that I was trying to cope until when I had left school. I had moved in with my spiritual grandmother, and I remember at a time I was going out every single day, Monday through Sunday, and I was drunk, very drunk, for 7 days straight. And I remember, like, I didn't call in, I didn't check in, I just didn't come home. And the day that I did come home, I only came home because I had to go to work. She sat me down and she's like, baby, I don't know what is going on. She was like, but you need to get it together. She was just like, I've never seen you spiral like this. Like, because I wasn't that kind of, when I say I was the golden child of all my siblings, play cousins, everybody, like, I was the good one. So for me to make such a switch was surprising to everybody. And then when I finally got the opportunity to, like, really get my life together, like, I left and I never looked back.
So let's talk about getting your life together and getting to what you do now.
Yeah.
So tell us how you got your life together, because we got 30 minutes, and how and about the good works that you're doing with the youth.
Okay, so when all of the things when I was done with all, like, the court proceedings and everything, the young man that I had left my ex for, we ended up getting into a relationship. So we were at school together. He just was already there. So we still went
at Navarro?
Yes, I still
Where
went
is that?
back. It's Corsicana.
Okay.
So we were together.
Close to your neck of the woods. Isn't it?
No, it's just
Similar name.
yeah.
Where are you?
Texarkana.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Texarkana, Texas. Shout out to TK.
So we did that for a little bit. We ended up moving out because we had roommates and, like, the rent wasn't paid, basically. His mom was paying the rent. So she was just like, y'all aren't staying another month. We're getting y'all out. So I was like, okay. So we came back to Houston. I ended up living with my mom. When I got there, I was 19. I was 18 turning 19. And I got a waitressing job. Like, we went out to eat. I was only there for like, I partied for a little bit. I had some friends that were from San Antonio that were going to U of H. So we like met up and I partied, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm ready to work. And that's when I first got my introduction to the hospitality industry. So my first waitressing job was Applebee's. It was so much fun. So much fun. I had a ball. That's where I learned how to just really just take care of people, right? And like tend to what they need as far as like just being with friends and family and having a good time. And I was really good at it. I've always been really good with using my words and like talking to people and very personable. So it just worked out for me. And then after Applebee's, I stayed in the hospitality industry, and I continued to try to go to school at the same time. And then I got a promotion to go open new stores around Texas. So as soon as I found out I got the promotion, I found out I was also pregnant. I was 20 at this time. And it's funny because I had played like a prank on my friends, like saying I was pregnant. I ended up really being pregnant at the end of the day. Never play that prank. People never do it. So I ended up having my oldest son at 21. And then right back to that, I was still in the hospitality industry, still in school. I've always tried to get my degree. I knew I wanted to finish school. I knew I wanted to go to like do big things, but I just got distracted. So I just continued to do that, and then I got pregnant with my second son. Their dad had got incarcerated.
Now, was he the guy from college or someone else?
Yes, he was the guy from college. He got incarcerated. He did that off and on for like 2 years of their life. 2 years. And I realized I don't want to continue to do this. Like, I have already paid for my bad decisions, and I don't want my kids to pay for them. I want them to have like a clean slate, start in a better environment. So I just really worked my ass off. I just continued to just grind, make sure they had all they needed. And of course, as a single mom, I was going through my own things, but I always made sure that they were in a good school district. Like, they had better advantages than I did, that I was always there, like making it to all their events, just being super hands-on. And then I had ended up moving back to Houston. I got into a new relationship, and it got pretty serious. And so we were just like, well, we were in Webster at this time by Galveston. So I was just like, there's not a lot of opportunities out here. Like, we can make more money in Houston. So we moved to Houston, and I was still doing hospitality. And then the last hospitality job that I had, at this time, this is when I was going to Sam Houston. I graduated from San Jacinto with my associates in business, and then I went straight into Sam Houston that summer. And I was going to school, going to work, and I had a friend of mine who had posted an event, the Collective Action flyer. And I was like, I've always wanted to like volunteer and like things like that. I had started my own nonprofit, the Fight for Your Life Foundation, helping women that have been involved in domestic violence. So I was just like, I just want to give back to the community because I was given a second chance, and I just want to give that back. And then I went to the event, and I found out they were hiring. I applied for the job. This was a year ago, and it's just changed my trajectory, like my life completely. Being able to share my story and like letting young people know your life can completely pivot, and you don't have to look like what you've been through. Like, I tell my story, and people are just like, I would have never thought you went through that. But they are pivotal moments and that happened to me that I believe shaped who I am today. Because when I do look back on all those instances that I ran into with the law and like attorneys not advocating for me, I realized my life could have been so much more, like could have been different. I could have been where I wanted to sooner, to me, but also my timing is not God's timing. So I give all thanks to him really just for bringing me like this far and being able to just be a light and like shed grace on like people. Like, you can do good things in this world no matter what you've been through.
So what's your job title at your job?
I am a senior project associate.
So what do you do?
So I do everything, honestly. One of the two major projects that I work on right now is Redeemed Outcomes. So that is something that I brought to the table for record expungements for youth.
Senior project what?
Senior project associate.
Associate, okay.
Yes.
Oh,
So
you fancy, huh?
I've been there for longer than everybody. I'm the senior. So I brought it to the table. My director was just like, yeah, like if you could do the research, do the work, we can do it. So we finally, after about 8 months, I finally was able to plan and execute with Earl Carl Institute and the Public Defender's Office an expungement clinic and a job fair as well. And we had about 88 people sign up, and we had about 60 people turn out, and we got all their records expunged.
All of them?
Good.
Yeah.
Wow,
good.
that's amazing.
Yeah, I've had those clinics before, so they work.
Yeah, they
Good.
definitely work. And
For
it's definitely-
juveniles, one of the things in Harris County that's a problem are the juvenile records are not sealed, and they should be.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they actually go to TYC, the records are able to be sealed. And they should be sealed automatically, but I don't think our county has enough manpower. The district clerk's office, I don't think has enough manpower to do it. So that's a big area because more and more they're allowing, even though juvenile records are supposed to be sealed, it's not automatic
Right.
and it needs to be done.
Right.
And that's
Educate-
one of the things you need to work on.
Just
Right.
educate me on the difference between seal and expungement.
So expungements means basically, it's if somebody asks you if it happened, you can deny it. It's completely off your record. The only people that can see your expungement is federal agencies. With non-disclosures,
Let me correct you.
okay.
Because you can actually take it off the federal agencies
Really?
too. Yes, you can. Our DPS, Department of Public Safety, is who puts it on the National Crime Information System and FBI. But Texas law allows you to expunge everything, which basically means it's telling these agencies to delete it. This is the deal. You could have a list of 30 agencies, you say, to delete that one terroristic threat, say if it was something that was eligible to be expunged, or you can just put 5. It depends on who's processing it. So you have to know how to get to these things to put them in the order. If you don't know, then you don't have it in the order. Because a lot of people handle you when you get arrested. It used to be, if Houston Police Department arrested you, you would go to the city jail, so they have a record. Then they would transfer you to the county, so they have a record. Pretrial services would interview you to see if you were eligible for a pretrial bond. That's when they didn't really give them. So they had a record. The DA's office had a record. The court had a record. But then all these other agencies have records. DPS has a record because DPS is the one that keeps up with everybody's criminal history. The National Crime Information System, the FBI. So all of these agencies might have your record. I mean, and if you get even arrested at a store, they write a little internal police report.
Can I add some context to what you're saying?
Yes.
I just recently had a call from a friend that was trying. He said, "What can I do to get my case expunged?" I said, "Well, you had a murder case. It may be tough to get a murder case expunged."
There's only 2 things you can get expunged for: dismissal or not guilty.
So I didn't know that, but I said it may be difficult.
What was the result of his murder case?
Well, guilty.
Okay, well you can't get it expunged.
Look, I didn't want to. I'm.
You didn't want to tell him the truth?
I give him more context.
You didn't want to tell him the truth?
I did, but not with the hammer.
didn't want to tell him the truth?
I didn't put the hammer. I'm gonna be this short. But basically, what I was saying, because I said, even if you had it closed in certain areas, and you go to a company and do a background check, there's no guarantee that every file that your record went in, one of them won't be found. And just like you told me that years ago,
Right.
that expungement is expungement. Don't think that you go apply for a job
And they
and
don't
they background, you be shocked sitting there like,
Right.
how
Because
did
you
they
don't know
find it
you don't
out?
know what resource they're getting it from. So you want the district clerk to seal it. Everybody has to delete it. But there's this thing in Texas that's a non-disclosure. So there are certain crimes, if you get deferred adjudication for, you can non-disclose. But it's just non-disclosed to the public. So if you're getting a job at Applebee's, they can't get it. But if you're getting a job at the VA, the Veterans Hospital, then they can see it. Any government agency can see it. And
DPS.
Any government agency. I don't care if you're applying for an investigator license or a nail shop license, if it's a teacher's license, whatever it is, government agencies can still see it. If you're in retail, because they're not government, then they can't access it. So it tells them to delete your records that are public, but not all records. There are exceptions to it. But
That's why, like the bar, they say like you have to disclose everything, like when you're applying for law school, because they're going to see it anyway.
if it's a non-disclosure, if it's an expunction, you shouldn't be. But a lot of people will go ahead and tell the caveat that yes, I was arrested, it was expunged, but you shouldn't be able to see that. This is the problem with it now, which makes it real difficult, because about 20 years ago, all these .com companies were created. They're not government entities. They're just some smart egghead in Silicon Valley that created Spotify.com or FindSomebody.com. So you put somebody's name and, all these little search engines come up that you can pay money for. Those people just went and got all the records in the whole United States. They just spent years and years. It's just like they created Facebook. Just put all this data in there, and they're not controlled.
Yep.
And so if they have it, they're not a government entity. They're not a police agency. So it flies in the face of our traditional expunction because they'll still have it. So I know that about 10 years ago, a law in Texas told these .com companies that once a year you need to sweep through all of these district clerk's offices and see if these things are still active. And I know at one point you could file a lawsuit if it was still there, but I've never really kept up with that very much. But I'm just saying it's a problem. So the problem is, a lot of people are using, I forgot what one of those popular search engines is. I know a lot of family law lawyers tell me they use it. Well, they don't have to comply. I mean, you should list them, but you can look up, 10 or 12 agencies will come up and say, just give us $20 and we'll tell you this. Have you told in that expunction order, did you tell that company to
Yeah.
And if you didn't tell them to, they have it.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So who has it? You don't know. So that's the difficult thing about expunctions. Sealing of juvenile records is a little bit different. You can't seal adult records at all. So the term sealing goes with juveniles. And juveniles records, to give them a second chance, you can fill out forms similar to the expunction forms that say deleted from their record. But that one is if they live out the probation, even if they've been in the detention center. It's almost any activity except if they got a determinate sentencing, which basically means they went to Texas Youth Commission is what they used to call it. It has a new name now. But let's just say they go to juvenile prison. Those can't be. And now juvenile prison sentences can be enhanced in your adult life. So it used to be, when I first started practicing law, you couldn't. Even if you killed somebody as a juvenile or robbed them, and you had to go to TYC, it's there as a juvenile record, but it couldn't be used to enhance. Now if you do a juvenile record like that on a serious violent offense and you received a determinate sentencing, which is you went to Texas Youth Commission, whatever it's called now, you went to jail, they can actually use that. They can actually still re-sentence you when you become 18 and give you more adult time, but they can actually use that to the 3 strikes you're out, 25 to life now.
We need Damien on. We need Damien out here right now, boy. You're in his backyard right now.
I'm in Damien's. Yeah, they can use Damien's. Damien came out in a time when they changed the law already to where they can use his. If he gets in trouble again, they can use his.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They can use his to enhance future punishment.
We ain't got to worry about Damien.
Oh no, Damien's on the right track.
Him and his dog's gonna be okay.
His dogs and his dogs.
All 7 of them.
All 7.
Push you up, Damien, if you're watching.
But continue the good work.
So we do that, and then also I'm part facilitator for the Harris County Youth Justice Transformation Cohort. So basically it's organizations that are Houston-based. We have one in Oakland as well, where we come together once a month and we basically plan around community organizing for youth justice, trying to figure out how to get better resources for them inside of the jails, outside the jails, possibly abolishing the prisons and creating alternatives to incarceration for children. It's something that I advocate very heavily because I really don't believe that children should be behind bars, not for petty crimes. And a lot of the research I've done and a lot of the work that I've been doing, I realize that a lot of youth are incarcerated over things that police shouldn't be called for.
Well, let me just say this. Since Kim Ah came in, we've changed some things in Harris County. So when she came in office and I went back to the DA's office with her, it was to change a lot of those paradigms. So there used to be about 11,000 juvenile cases pending. Now they're 2,600 because we've gone to before HISD changed over, we created a video using our director here, using some of the kids to show superintendents and principals what happens when a child is arrested. We did a mock arrest. It's on YouTube. It's got many, many views. Like
Millions,
like about 14 million, I think, views.
Oh, wow.
And so we gave it to all of the schools and it's 12,000. There's 1,200 principals in HISD, and we've been educating them this week since they're under new management because they might not be the same people that we had educated a few years ago, and told them this is what you do. So please go back to the old ways when Danny and I grew up, where they handled things
Detention.
administratively. No, they can't. I mean, you had a fight, you just kicked them out of school or whatever, but don't put handcuffs on kids for things like the things that kids do: fights, counterfeit money, stealing each other's phones. Handle it, but they don't have to get handcuffs put on them and go to jail and then go to court for a year. The parents have to come. Kids forget what they got in trouble for a year ago. Right. We wanted them to learn how to learn how to resolve their differences. You used to have a fight and 3 weeks later y'all are friends, but not if you got to go to detention and alternative school. It creates more hate and animosity. So we've created programs to where no misdemeanor cases are
Prosecuted.
We prosecute them in a different way. They don't come to court where they have to come to court for a settlement. Right. They go directly to juvenile diversion programs, to juvenile probation. So in the juvenile system, no matter what you get in trouble for, you go through juvenile probation. But then they have to be referred to the court. We don't do the court part referral. We deal with all of these nonprofits and people and organizations that have contracts with the county to try to rehabilitate them. And the DA's office actually pays for one in Third Ward, run through Dr. Cofield, Hope for Families. And then we were paying for one in Fifth Ward that we started, and then I think another county agency took over, and that was in Fifth Ward. So if those kids got in trouble, they took them to the Fifth Ward redevelopment, and in Third Ward, take them to Dr. Cofield's church, which is Good Hope.
So what I heard you say that the school to prison pipeline
we're trying to stop
that was running so smoothly,
right, yeah.
Y'all start plugging it up.
Stopping. So the only people that go to
slowing it
court
down.
now is 2,600 instead of 11,000, and those are kids with violent crimes: ag robbery, murder, ag assault, putting guns in people's face. If it has anything to do with weapons, guns, but if it's just a fist fight at school.
With no weapons involved?
No weapons involved. Sometimes if the weapon's involved, it just depends on what it is. They can't be bringing a gun to school.
Yeah.
Sometimes things are weapons that are not guns.
Yeah.
Be a baseball bat, things like that. Family assaults, we try to deal with that with counselors and caseworkers. So we're trying to change the paradigm. We haven't had much blowback. We started this maybe 2020 or 2019, I can't remember. But it's changed, so there's no juveniles there for petty crimes in Harris County. Okay. So I want you to get educated about that and tell it right, because there are none, not for misdemeanors. And most offenses are misdemeanors. Even in the adult system, there are more misdemeanor cases pending than felony, because there's a lot of shoplifting, there's a lot of, small things like that. So it's not many felonies.
So what about the weed charges, like weed crimes?
There's a diversion program through the probation department. They never go to court.
Because I know I've sat in on Judge Shapiro's, courtroom, and there have
now
been
sometimes this is the general rule. There's an exception to all rules.
Yeah.
Sometimes there are kids that are repeat. Then you got to do something, because
right.
kids, everybody has to be punished. So I'm just saying this is the general rule, because it used to be first offenders. Now if they keep doing it and they're doing it at school, or they're selling dope at school and they won't stop and the school can't control them, then they will definitely ask our prosecutors, please go ahead and file a case on them.
Right.
So those happen. I'm not saying they don't happen.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying our general rule is that we did something to go from 2,600, go from 11,000 cases to 2,600.
That was post-COVID or pre-COVID?
We changed it in 2020.
Okay.
We had time then in 2020 because everybody was working from home.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't having trials anymore. So the prosecutors had time to figure out and talk to juvenile probation about how are you going to handle this bigger caseload, because they go straight to juvenile probation under Henry Gonzalez group. They had to figure that out, because they had to have more people working on that end. We had to put more prosecutors on that end versus in the courtroom. So we had to figure that out. So we started it probably that part in 2020, but it's been a process since 2017 trying to get to that part, because you have to educate the schools, because the schools, when we went to school, you didn't have cops at school. When you have cops, what are cops trained to do?
Arrest people.
Yeah.
So when you have ISD police, they're going to arrest people.
Yeah.
So we had to create a video, and we had to say, when you watch a little boy that's little getting arrested and handcuffed and going down to juvenile, it brought it home to the principals and to the superintendent. So that's what we did. But when we did the education, it was for all 26 independent school districts, because Houston is huge. I mean, Harris County is huge. So it wasn't just Houston Independent School District. It was Clear Creek, all the school districts. It was, all the ones that are in Harris County. So.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, no, it's a lot. It's a lot, but it's evolving. So
Yeah.
if you hear about something that happened 5 years ago, it might not be what's happening right now.
Yeah.
So continue to ask questions.
And that's what we were talking about today at work. I'm just like, when's the last time somebody has gone back and like,
and check.
and
Find
check
out
what's
who's in
going
jail.
on now.
Find out
Yeah.
who's in court.
And then
Go to
also
court and
like doing
watch.
the power, like who is the one who's implementing those new policies. Those are the people who we need to be getting like facts from instead of like just assuming. So,
or going by something that happened. There might be a person that got in trouble as a youth 6 to 7 years ago might be working with y'all.
Yeah.
But that's not what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Things are evolving.
They definitely are. I know that for the sealing records, there was, I forgot who was trying to pass it, but he was trying to pass a bill that made it like mandatory for youth records to be sealed.
I thought it was mandatory, but the things that we've researched, we thought it's been mandatory. Some people think it's automatic, but there's some.
I know mine was done automatically.
There's some, but yours is in San Antonio, in Bexar County. It's something going on in Harris County. I was told once that we didn't have the manpower to do it in Harris County. The district clerk didn't have the funding for people to do it. They were going crazy just doing their regular job. So to me, I think there's about 20,000 records that need to be sealed. But I don't think that they have the people to do it. I mean, if you're already working 8, 9, 10 hours a day, working all day, I mean, when are you going to do it? There has to be the funding set aside by the commissioners to add more clerks to do that. And I think it's not, and I could be wrong on my facts currently, but there was a time, since I went back to the DA's office, and I'm an administrator trying to fix a lot of these things, that they didn't have the manpower. Things could be different right now. I haven't looked at it since we did a big overhaul in 2020.
So, Jade, I have a question for you. Do you know the statistics on when a parent goes to prison, what are the statistics of that child ending up in the criminal justice system?
I believe it's 60%.
So 60% of the children of parents that go to incarcerated become incarcerated themselves.
That's big. Well, we have 5 minutes, so I'm going to let you make your plug, and then I'm going to come back to you to try to say some words about your organization, what you would like to see, and where your goals and objectives are for juveniles.
Okay.
Okay, so be thinking about that. And Danny, you want to talk about the path to freedom and the good works that you're doing through our church, St. John's?
This happens to be your shirt, and I hope you can wear a medium because you've been such a supporter of the Path of Freedom Ministry. Path of Freedom Ministry is a support group that operates out of St. John's downtown. It's a faith-based organization aimed at men and women returning from jails and prison. And the mission is to change the prison cycle by reducing recidivism. And I believe, I can make the case because I've been to prison 3 times, that on the 3rd time that I got out, I started changing how I saw things and how I operated. And these principles, along with a lot of other things, help reshape and help me reimagine how I want to live. And those are focus, discipline, and consistency. And you'll see that word consistency used a lot among successful people in all areas of life as a way, one of the most effective values or characteristics you can have to get long-term results. This weekend, after the post-pandemic, I had to reimagine how we do ministry with the Path of Freedom. Prior to the pandemic, we would meet every Thursday from 5:30 to 7. When people get out of TDC, a man or a woman, that we would give it a brochure talking about our location at 2019 Crawford Street, downtown Houston. The bus station is about 3 blocks from the church, Greyhound. Harris County released 15,000 people back into the community every year. Our objective was to realize that people return to the same environment, the same people in the same place when they get out of prison. And that was one of the dynamics that I'm going back. No matter what happened to them while they're there, the dynamics, what they returned to didn't change.
Right.
Third Ward is still Third Ward. The people still selling dope there. Your cousins, Ray, Pookie, they still there. So you can get out with all of these expectations. I'm gonna do great. but I got to do it and come back to the same environment. But bringing awareness to that gives you power. So when they get back, like, are you aware you finna go back to the same environment? What's the plan? Like, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, it's environmental. So let's group together and have an idea, or at least a conversation, which I believe is the biggest impact on change, is just sitting down like we're doing now, and let's have a conversation.
Absolutely.
And through that conversation, our thinking patterns and our perception begin to change. But we have to keep reinforcing those ideas by coming back together, having another conversation that's combating our environment, which we can't change. So this Sunday at St. John's, I'll be relaunching the Path of Freedom Ministry after post-pandemic. We've been shut down for 3 years. Vivian is one of our biggest supporters. That's why I brought her a hat and a shirt. So, you know what I'm saying? She's going to be the first one.
I got to pay for it. I don't think I don't have to pay for the shirt.
Well,
now.
you know what? You know,
I am going to pay for it. Don't think he just
you
give
know,
it to me. Don't be jealous unless you're ready to write a check. Because he's
No,
going to make me
it's
I
buy.
am
You
doing
got
the
it.
You know what I'm saying?
You got it.
Okay, but that's my time. Thank you. Thank you, Vivian, for
All right.
talking
Well, we
about
still
that.
have 2 minutes. So, Jade, so talk to me about the program. How can people get involved with the program? Participants. How do you pick the young people that you serve?
So a lot of the work that we do comes from referrals, just being out in the community, and then building relationships. I've been blessed enough to have really good relationships with our partners and for them to send us people, and then also just doing the work ourselves and having conversations like I'm having now with people with the work I do, and still working with those individuals to get youth to come to us. We have programs every month on different issues that are going on in the community. Right now we're doing a 3-part series, Juvenile Justice, the adult criminal system, and then basically alternatives to incarceration, and looping that back around so that we can all come together as a community.
Now, are the young people involved, or are these other
Yes,
adults
the young
involved?
people are involved.
Is it by Zoom or in person?
So we do in person. We have different locations. We do send out flyers. We have a website, www.ca4y.org. And you could also email us at www.info@ca4y.org, or you could personally email me, Jade.Miller@ca4y.org. I'm very reachable, and then our events are always posted on our Instagram as well, Collective Action for Youth, and our LinkedIn. So we try to get out into the community. That's why I was so surprised about the outcome of our clinic, because we had so many people come out, and that was a really good response for us to know what the community needed. So just continuously like being out there with our people, continuing to just push through and using
One
our
other thing, how do the juveniles get to the locations? I mean, do y'all provide
we do Uber
transportation?
vouchers, yes. So we do Uber vouchers, or we can go pick them up. It depends. And then also a program that we have, the Jade Yab. We have youth from 16 to 24. We come together teaching them social emotional learning, professionalism, and then giving them paid opportunities to basically just be a part of something and for somebody to not give up on them.
All right, well, I'm being told to wrap up, so I hope that this show was informative and taught you something about the criminal justice system as it deals with our juveniles and our youth. And I hope if you have any troubled youth in the Houston-Harris County area that you would consider calling Collective Action for Youth, okay? And ask for Miss Jade Miller. All right, thank you for watching. Good night. See you next time.
Thank you.